on this new one.
Okay.
Ready?
Mm-hmm. Will it load here? How do I know if it's live? Is it live? Am I live? Can you guys hear me? I am hopefully live. Let me know in the chat, guys, if you wouldn't mind. This is the first time I'm doing the setup, so it's all very technical. So let me know if you can hear me. And welcome to everybody, and sorry about the little technical issue. So we have some people commenting already, so let's dive in. This is basically just Q&A, like anything you guys are interested in jewelry business related. Pop your questions in the chat and I will answer them for you guys. Okay, so let's get started. Hold on a sec. Okay, so from Ireland, hello, welcome, Sana, beautiful, beautiful, welcome. I love Ireland, oh my god. Okay, so wondering what would be the main thing you'd suggest to tackle first to increase reach on Instagram, as I'm definitely feeling like screaming into the void just now. Yeah, I hear you, I absolutely hear you. So the first thing in terms of starting to post is having a really good, clear idea of who you're speaking to, because it's all about connection. So if you switch your thought of Instagram being shouting into the void, because trust me, I know what you mean, but think about a person, a specific person you're speaking to, and that person's really your ideal customer. So having them in mind when you're talking to them, creating content, writing captions, all of that stuff is going to feel so much less scary when you're doing it that way. But then on the other hand, you also obviously need to have a USP, so unique selling point, so that that person also has a reason to connect with you. So if you could pop in the chat if you have an idea of your USP and your target audience, but that is a super important first place to start. So if you pop that in there. And we had some other questions. Where did they go? Hi again, Relicia. If you don't mind popping your question in here, because I know you wrote it out perfect. You're a champ. Thank you. Awesome. So I'm new to the world of jewelry, currently buying tools and working on my home studio. I took a silversmithing class, but I'm still a beginner. I'm very excited to open my own brand ASAP. Woohoo! Exciting. And that is such a fun stage to be at. I absolutely freaking loved learning how to make my jewelry, thinking of the brand, like looking at all of the options and different styles I could do, and all of that is super fun. So one little thing I would suggest keeping an eye on is not getting super carried away with buying all of the possible tools and materials and gemstones under the sun, because that can become kind of addictive, and I've seen a lot of jewelers go down that route of feeling like, I just need to get these amethysts and then everything will be perfect, or I just need to learn this new skill and create this new style, and then that's what's going to be what resonates and what people connect with. So in terms of that, set up your studio, have fun with it, but then they'll get a point where you're like, okay, how do I actually turn this into a brand and something that people can get excited about as much as me as well? So you wrote something else as well. I'm worried about the expensive material pieces. Is it a good time to start something? In a few months, I'm very passionate, but I don't have all the equipment to practice right now. Any contacts? So Relicia, sorry. That's something that's such a common misconception, that you need to spend a lot of money. When I started my jewelry brand, I was sharing a house with like a bunch of housemates. I had a teeny tiny bedroom. I had a very, very small little setup, and I hardly had any tools and materials. I was waitressing at the time for under minimum wage for like a few hours, so I literally had nothing. And I decided that what I was going to do is just make what I can, sell those, reinvest the money, make what I can, sell those, reinvest the money. So just build up your tools slowly, bit by bit. But literally, you can do so much with a very, very minimal setup. I think a while back I did a YouTube video about like my top 10 tools, so maybe you can like go back in the history and find that. But you really don't need a lot. And for many years, I still had a very minimal setup. So don't worry too much about that. And any other question, is it a good time to start? Absolutely. Like before Christmas, perfect time to launch, because so many people are going to be thinking about gifts. They're going to be buying like crazy, not worrying about anything, and it's a perfect time. So I would definitely jump in, get started. Okay, so we've got here Studio Minerva Jewelry. Which jewelry fairs do you like the most? That depends in which country you are. Obviously, I did a lot of fairs in the UK. I loved Craft Central. They're amazing. When I was working with them, they were in Clerkenwell, like in Farringdon area in London. Then they moved out a little bit more, so I'm not sure. I'm not in London anymore to know if they're still in that location that they're at, but they're incredible. They curate such amazing events. They're amazing. But wherever you are, you got to kind of try and find the events and markets that align with your target audience. So I've worked with clients in the past where they said, oh my goodness, like everyone kept telling me my jewelry was too expensive, when actually they were just at a completely wrong audience, like wrong target market, basically. So everything there was like $5, $10, and then they're there with like $150 earrings, and obviously that's going to seem out of place. So it very much depends on your niche and where you position yourself. So you kind of got to do that research and find in your area where you are, like what ones are really good. And then Sana says, I do a lot of custom work, but struggling with building a brand because I feel jaded not knowing what story to tell. Good point. I feel like the more I'm on Instagram socials, I see everyone having similar USPs and feel, then your continues feel inauthentic about mine. Okay, so I'm glad you said it the way you did, because what happens often is that we go on social media, go scrolling on Instagram, and we look, wow, they're doing this, or oh, there's this trend, this looks really cool. And then we try and like take what's working for them and copy paste that strategy onto our own brands. And then every time it just doesn't feel like it blends and gels, and it feels a bit off. And the reason is it's going to feel inauthentic, exactly like you said. So the most important thing that's going to help you feel excited about posting is really picking your USP and your target audience, and really fully 100,000% being so excited about it, because then once you know that, everything you post is just going to feel so no-brainer. So all of that exhaustion and overwhelm from posting on social media that comes from not knowing what to post, did I write the right caption, all of that stuff is just going to feel so much more smooth, because you're like, I know them, I know what they're thinking, I know exactly what's going to resonate, we're on the same page, like we're on the same wavelength. And that's really exciting, because like you're actually connecting with genuine, real humans rather than chopping and changing all the time. But obviously, that said, I know when you're just starting out, you're still figuring things out, so you're not like super sure what it is and what's going to land and what's going to resonate. But the sooner you can pick and focus, the better and easier it is going to be for you. So I'm going to be doing a whole full training where I'm going to talk a bit more about this in detail. So I'll be sharing links everywhere soon. It's coming soon, but I'm going to explain that in more detail, like the whole customer journey, so that you feel like, okay, I get it. Okie dokes. So next question, Linda Witt. Hi from Belgium. Hello. I have a small business. I am getting a lot of interest from strangers, but they keep hanging in the thinking about it phase. What can I do to inspire trust? That is brilliantly worded and literally the exact wording that I'm using in my free training, because that thinking about it phase, it means there's lack of trust. So someone will only buy if they fully trust your brand. So it seems like they're on the fence of being interested, but there's not enough information to push them over. So I'll be talking about that in the training as well. But this comes from you also being super clear about them, like you having a really good vibe and a brand that feels authentic and feels like something to them, but it's that trust that you're missing there, Lynn. So there's so many different things that can be affecting that trust. Again, I'll go into full detail in the training, but for example, it could be things like there's no proof of anybody else having bought. There's no like shipping assurances. There's no consistency or continuity, like something's putting them off. Any little tiny little red flag that's popping up for them is going to be causing that thinking about it but not actually making the purchase, and procrastination. So it sounds like you're heading in the right direction of them thinking about it, but you need to push them over the edge there. Ria, hello Ria. So boho sea glass jewellery from the Antrim coast in Ireland. Another person from Ireland, lovely. Each batch is separate. Is separate, so you receive a map with the beach location your treasure came from. A way to carry the Irish Sea with you always. Okay, nice. Did you write something before? I think you might have. No, okay. Oh wait, you did. So I think, yes, sorry. I was just checking. I was like, it's the same person from Ireland. Sorry, Ria. Wondering what would be the main thing you suggest tackling to increase reach on Instagram, as I'm definitely feeling like screaming to it. Okay, so this is your niche. Okay, that's not a bad niche, to be honest, but it is still kind of competitive because there are a lot of people with sea glass inspired jewelry in amongst my clients as well. I have quite a few, so it's always like, okay, what makes them pick your sea glass inspired jewelry over somebody else's? So that's where having a personal brand can be a differentiating factor in terms of they buy into you and your special outlook. I'm not saying you have to do personal brand, but in this day and age, people really love personal brands. And in fact, there's a statistic from Shopify that says 70% of people actually prefer buying from small brands, which is incredible, really, because that's just so good, such good news for us in the creative industries, because people are kind of jaded and tired by all of this other like mass-produced stuff. We've just had COVID, so everyone's been feeling super isolated. They want to connect. Then there's AI. Is there even a human there? Hence why I thought I'd pop onto a live and show you I'm a real human. And it's just so much stronger if you're able to show your personal take on it. So what is your individual perspective of it? But Ria, that doesn't sound bad at all. I definitely think you're heading in the right direction. Obviously, I don't know how you're presenting it on Instagram and if people are feeling something when they go on there, because that's the most important thing, is that people feel. I can't emphasize this enough, guys. They need to feel connected with your brand and the way that you see things. Hope that makes sense. Evie, hello from Greece. Hello. Relicia, okay, she says, is it okay to create my Instagram profile and sell one item to one item like you suggested, or is it better to launch a whole collection to be more professional because it will be a slower process? You absolutely can do either way. So if you're really worried about like the investment of creating a full big collection, then absolutely you can launch one at a time and say, hey guys, new drop, I've got this necklace, here's the story behind it, I'm so excited about it, I hope you love it. Like, you can kind of create that FOMO of like, there's only one, or like, there's only three, it's the same design but there's only three of them and I'll never make them again. So you can totally play on that and use that to your advantage. That's absolutely fine. You don't have to have a full collection at all. No, you can do that later. And also in terms of like full collection, you don't need to make like 20 pieces. Like, a collection, in my mind and from my experience of the last 11 years doing jewelry business, is between like 6 and 12 is really a decent collection. Like, you don't need to do too much, because what actually ends up happening is that you give people way too much choice. And what often happens then is you end up creating pieces that are like similar, and it's like, it looks like you couldn't choose. So you're like, there's this one and then it's slightly different, and then there's this one and then it's slightly different and it's this one. So rather offer a variety, but not like, you don't need to go overboard with the collection making, and don't worry too much about that. So that is all good either way you want to do it, and do it as you're ready. There's no pressure on that from anybody else. And also I won't be very recognizable if I make one piece, then post it then again and again. So recognizable, so I hope that you are already trying to discover your style. So in terms of an aesthetic you like. So for me, my jewelry brand is like minimalist, Scandi aesthetics. So everything I do is always going to be my taste. And I actually remember like the first time when I made my first collection and then I made my second collection, I was so worried that it looked so different. And I was like, oh my God, how can I sell this? Like, literally what you're thinking now, I'm sure. And I asked my housemates and like everyone I could find, I'm like, does this look like the same designer? Is this okay? And they were like, 100%, it's totally Megan Collins. And I was like, really? But I was like, but I used a handmade texture on this one, and these ones are smooth. And they were like, oh my God, it's still your style and your minimal aesthetic. So, and the shapes I was using were similar. So as jewelers, we are so detail oriented, it's ridiculous. So what we get focused on is the tiny little details. Whereas if you just take a step back and look at the bigger picture and the general cohesiveness of it, you're good, you're good. So try and have in mind, maybe before you launch, design and make samples of all the pieces that are going to be in the collection, and then you launch one at a time. Hey, here's the next one, sneak peek, a ring is coming soon, or what would you like to see next? So you kind of tease the next ones, but you already know which ones are going to come out, and you know that they're going to work well together. So the same person who likes the first one is going to like the fifth one as well. So I hope that helps as well, and hope that makes sense. You commented something else as well. I will be able to launch around spring. Do you have any tips for my first post, any giveaways or examples? So like I was just saying, basically, so sneak peek and tease and get the audience excited about it. So I'm just remembering a story when I did one of the exhibitions I did back in London, and I had been designing this whole collection, I've been posting about it, like in stories and posts and everywhere, and like I had, you know, like a concept behind each of the pieces. It was like inspired by the aerial views of like field shapes in different countries, which I got inspiration for when I was flying back from a competition I won in Austria. Anyway, sidetrack. And so I created this collection, and this woman came straight in and she was like, awesome, I'll buy that one. No hesitation, no questions, no asking questions, nothing. And I was like, what? And I was just so shocked. I think my face was like full of shock. She was like, so we started talking, and I was like, how, you know? And she was like, I've been following you on Instagram. I love the story. I love everything about it. And when you posted about doing a show, I couldn't wait to come and buy this piece because I'm obsessed. And I was like, wow, posting on Instagram actually works. Like, it actually helps, because you will find that sometimes people are on Instagram, but they're quiet. They're watching quietly. They don't interact. They don't do anything. Even my very first course that I sold, my first customer, my first client, I never spoken to, I'd never seen her name. Anyway, shout out to you, Wendy, wherever you are. And I've never spoken with her, but she just was like, that's what I want, cool. So don't be put off by the silence, because sometimes people just take time. They also need, apparently now, 23 touch points. It used to be 7, and that was great and more doable, but now with social media and everyone just being bombarded with stuff all the time, people literally need to see something of yours 23 times. So that would be my pointer to you, is to make sure that people have those 23 touch points, and each time you're posting, try a different thing that you think that they need to know in order to get to know you, like you, and trust you, in order to feel safe buying from you. So there's so many different angles you can talk about one ring. So like there's so many different ways. Like you can talk about the quality of it, you can talk about the design of it, you can talk about the behind the scenes of it, you can talk about the value, like the emotions you want people to feel. Like there's so many different ways you can talk about it. So that is very fun and exciting to be like, oh, I can use this piece of content again and again and again, and chop it up and change it and add it with other things and reuse. Okay, ducks, what else have we got question wise here? So we have got great, I'm so glad. Awesome. You're welcome, Ria. Okay, yes, exactly, personal connection, always. Macon, hello. I have just started thinking about creating my jewelry business. I'm in France and need to be registered to sell and buy some materials. Yep. Finding it complex to figure out the admin part. Any advice? Oh dear, I don't envy you in that sense, because I lived in Belgium for 1.5 years and I had to go through the whole registration process. So similar but different in France. But I would find somebody who has contacts there in France, because it's going to be super different. So that's what I did in Belgium. I found a company called UCM. So maybe you can type in like to Google like what's the UCM from Belgium equivalent in France, and I just went and had a long meeting with a really lovely lady who is actually the same name of one of my jewelry pieces, Valerie, and speak to someone there who knows the logistics of how it works there. But when I first moved to Belgium, what I ended up doing, because I had already had my jewelry business in the UK for like 9 years by that point, so I still had all my contacts, everything there. So I just ordered materials from there, and like a lot of my customers were still there. So I was just doing that until I was set up, because I know it's really frustrating. You literally can't buy like everything you need without being registered. So as soon as you're like, yes, I want to do this, set up the registration. But in the meantime, test the market and test the demand for what you're making, even if you're making it in like a metal that you can buy. I'm not sure if you're allowed to buy like copper or brass and then plate it. I'm not sure if you're allowed to do that, just so that it looks like the real thing, and say like in, you know, like in 2 months or whatever, I will be launching these pieces, but just like who's interested, like what do you guys think? But also the easiest way is then to make the pieces, wear them, and then get like feedback from people. So become your own shop basically, and test the designs. Like, are people complimenting you? Because like it's so nice when I hear from like customers of mine saying like, I literally get compliments all the time whenever I wear your jewelry. Literally the amount of times people say that, it's like really reassuring, and that's when you know you've got something good to go on. So I wish there was an easier answer for you, Megan, I'm sorry, but you kind of need to know someone local in France for that. Okay. Evie, I've been following you since forever. You're my inspiration. Oh, I took the first step and the second and some more steps to reach my goal. Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad, Evie. That's amazing. I'm so glad. And that's literally why I love doing this, is because I genuinely love helping people. And I remember when I started being so freaking confused and stuck and lost, and I was working at the school and I didn't have much time. So any time I had, I was like pouring into my jewelry business, and then 3 months later, like, oh, that was all wrong. what a waste of money, what a waste of time. And so this is why I'm like trying to share as much advice, like as much free as I can possible, but then also paid for people who just want like, okay, I'm just going to focus step by step, let's just do this all together. So trying to like make sure everyone has the support they need for whatever stage they're at. So Evie, I'm so glad, thank you so much. Like, what stage are you at, Evie, in terms of like collection launched or website? Like, let me know, that'd be super interesting to hear. Thank you for the advice. You're welcome, Relisa. Beautiful. You're so welcome. I'm like that. I've saved 1 billion of your helpful posts on Instagram and have lurked instead. Sorry. No, it's totally fine. It's totally fine, Ria. There's no judgment at all, and everyone is different. Like, that's just totally normal. I expect that. So there's different, this is also maybe good for you guys to know as well. So there's the people who like to just watch quietly, but they're watching everything, which is great. But obviously for the person on the other side, if you're running a jewelry business and you're like, you don't see any interaction, it can be disheartening. This is why I encourage you guys, if you are, you know, interacting with other brands, I'll come back to that in a second, then like show your presence. So it's really nice to see that. So that's one person, they watch quietly. Then there's another type of person who is all about features. So this is my fiance Emil. He doesn't care about anything else. He's like, show me the features. If I'm paying for the thing, what am I getting in return? So it's a very like logical approach, and there's a lot of people who are like that. Also, great, we're not judging them at all. Then there's a third type of a person who is motivated by emotions. So it's like, oh, I feel XYZ and this brand makes me feel this way. And there's a lot of people like that as well. And in terms of jewelry itself, it is in itself an emotional purchase, because people can look at all the features and be like, okay, so for example, maybe a guy is buying a present for his wife and he'll be looking at all the features and he'll be like, okay, so how much is it? What material is it? When will it arrive? What's the return policy if it's the wrong size? You know, that's the features that the guy will want to know if he's making the purchase, which is totally understandable. But then a lot of women buy from the emotional side. Like, I need to feel excited by something. And because women largely are the ones wearing jewelry, it makes sense that we need to have that emotion and that feeling behind the brand for her to want to go, oh, yes, I want that, I need that. And then she can go and tell her husband if she wants to, or buy it herself. So this is where there's different types of people. So in your content as well, to push people over from the just looking to the buying, that's where it's good to have all of those touch points. So someone who never asks a question should be able to know everything without reaching out, because some people are shy and that's totally fine. Or the person needs to know when's the return, like what's the return policy, how long will it take to get to me, all of that stuff needs to be clear for the features person, and likewise strong emotional for the actual, you know, wearer to want to buy it. But that, I was going to say something, I almost went that tangent, was in terms of interacting. So this is just totally not related to you guys' questions, but I feel like I need to say, if you guys all here, is that I see a lot of jewelers interacting with each other, like each other's Instagram accounts, thinking that this is helpful, where actually it's really, really detrimental. And here's why. You're basically teaching the algorithm who to interact with. So if jewelers are interacting with your content, Instagram's gonna go, hey, so I'm analyzing who's looking at your content. It seems to be predominantly jewelers. Let me help you show it to more jewelers. So this is the one problem I have when jewelers get stuck on content creation and they think that all the person wants to see is the behind the scenes making process. This is very fun for a jeweler to watch. And we can be obsessed. We'll be like, oh, cool. And like, you'll see the comments where people are saying like, oh, what's that tool called? Or, oh, I need to get one of those. Oh, why did you, trim the bezel that low down? Whatever it is. And this is where you need to be strategic when you're posting, and who you're teaching the algorithm is your customer. So this is where you knowing your customer, first and foremost, helps. because then you can also interact more with your ideal customers. You can create content that lands with them, that they're interested in, rather than creating for other jewelers. So, side note, pop in the chat if you're like, that makes total sense. Let me know if that makes sense. Okay, so Ria, okay, we answered that one already. Just that's all good. Maybe something else I'm wondering is how you got in the contact list. How did you get to know other jewelers and how they started inviting you places? Good question. So when I started in London, I was like, oh my god, I'm such a small little fish in this ginormous, huge, big city. I come from a little village. How the hell is anyone going to take me seriously? They're going to find me out. You know, like, I'm not a real jeweler. Meanwhile, I studied for a year. So how did I start? Was literally just speaking to people. I guess it also helped because I went where I studied jewelry. So there was a group of 7 of us, and I studied at VS Jewelry School, Vanetta Citroen Jewelry School, for any of you guys who know, London. And I think that was like the starting point, which was really helpful because she then helped us organize our very first exhibition, which was at Craft Central. So then I got on the mailing list of Craft Central. So then I kept applying to other events because I was like on their list to apply, and they were pretty selective. I'm not going to lie, they didn't take everybody in, so I had to keep the standard like up there. So that started to be a good network there as well. And then even at those events, then people found me as well. So like, for example, an invite to sell on Wolf and Badger from there. And then I also just doing actual in-person events because I wasn't fully on like online platforms in that first year. Like I slowly started building that up. In fact, I had no desire to be like in the public eye. I really didn't. You guys might think otherwise seeing me doing a freaking YouTube live here, but it's not normal. Like I don't have a natural desire to be in front of the camera. I just focus on, I want to help people. So I'm just like, cool, this is the way to do it. So, but basically you just start building connections, speaking to people, having conversations, which is why I think it's very helpful in the early stages to be able to do some of those in-person events, because you can actually speak with real humans and see how your jewelry actually lands. Because when you're posting online, like some people are, they might be liking it, but they're not interacting. So that's going to make you feel, I may as well give up. You see what I mean? But if you're in person, you see who comes to your stand, you see how people respond, what are they thinking, what are the conversations. But this is where it's actually super helpful to have different talking points rather than just like, hey, do you like my jewelry? So having something more behind your brand just makes the whole process so much more natural and casual and enjoyable, and then people want to buy. Right, before I go on too much of a tangent, let's read some more of the comments here. You're welcome, Minerva, you're so very, very welcome. Maiken, you're so very welcome as well. I hope it's helpful. Evie, so she says, so I have my own workshop and a store at the front. Ooh, very nice. Congrats. That's amazing. Just preparing my fall winter collection. I'm watching you while working. Woohoo! Yay! So the next step is putting my jewelry in other stores with my brand name on it. Fantastic. That's so good. That's amazing. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So you're further down the road, you know, you were like step 1, step 2. This is amazing. This is great. So yeah, and that's the thing like I did as well. Like whoever was inspiring me at the time, like I didn't just watch TV. I was like learning, educating, being inspired by whoever it was. And I think that's so helpful to just keep that motivation going. So I am glad you're here for that, and I am here for you. Amazing. So in terms of like stores, definitely with your brand name on. I'm glad you're aware of that. I think I might have mentioned that in YouTube videos as well. But it's very important because you want them to be promoting your brand and building that brand recognition rather than just like the shop selling your jewelry and, you know, you taking a cut. So that's fantastic. That's super, super great. Let me know if you need any help with that. I did a live like run through of my Get Stock program. I'm not sure if you heard about it. Maybe you can comment, let me know, Evie. And that literally guides you through absolutely everything that you need to feel confident to do that, in case you need that resource. That is there as well. Also, it's on my website actually. Is it? No, I don't think I've actually made it visible. I need to do the landing page where people can then buy it, but I had it back end. So that will be available soon, actually. That's on my to-do list. And then you have, then how do you get new followers in the beginning, if not other jewelry brands? Yes, good question. So in terms of that, different ways, but understanding what they like and creating content that they are going to like will help them want to come, if you know what I mean. So I mean, like, there's different ways about doing it. You can also do outreach, and then there's inbound, so marketing. Inbound, whereas like you post stuff and you wait for people to come. So a lot of people do that and then they sit and wait, but then you can also do your side. So this is what I did in the beginning, a lot of outreach. So I'll go, okay, my niche is Scandi minimalist aesthetic. So I went to the hashtags and I typed in like Scandi, minimalist, like all of these type of words that related to my brand aesthetic. And then I'd find all of the accounts. Obviously, you're gonna find some that are gonna be private. It's totally normal, but you skip through and you find the ones that are not private, and you start interacting with their content. And don't just necessarily go and follow every single person without commenting or liking. So the way that I like to tell my clients to do it is to like at least 5 of their posts, if it's relevant. If it's like personal family things, leave them alone, it's a bit weird. And then comment on at least 1 or 2. If you feel like, oh my god, they're like 100% an ideal customer, then you can follow them if you feel like it's a genuine connection. And to this day, some of my best repeat customers have been from me doing that exact process, and we just mutually shared aesthetics, and we're like, oh my god, like we still chat, like it's amazing. And it comes from that. So like, for example, like my one really lovely fan, she's like a photographer, like a minimalist aesthetic photographer, and I made a special commission for her. Like, I bought one of her photos, and you can start to build that relationship, but it does take time. So this is where we think in this day and age, everything's gonna be quick. This will take time, but the more that you can create content that is exciting for your customer and just keep doing it, the more it works. And actually, literally, I was speaking last week to a client of mine, who's my magnetic jewelry brand course. Yes, she is. Cindy, hi. And she was like, Megan, look, I just posted my very first reel. What do you think? And so I gave a little bit of feedback, but I was like, oh my god, amazing, so good. And then literally she was like, okay, but it's not getting many views. But she's literally getting like 12k views on like multiple reels now. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. But she has hired somebody to help her do that, because she's like, I'm not techie. I'm not gonna do a good job of this. But I explained the importance, and this is like part of marketing. It's free. Time, money, energy. There's always an expense to some extent, but it's a fantastic way to advertise. So if you're not going to be doing it, then outsource that to somebody else. Even if it's like your sister's 15-year-old daughter, like somebody who can do it for you. You have the idea, and you're like, make it like this. Here's some stuff. Have fun with it. But you need to understand your customer first and foremost. So it takes time, but just keep on going, and I hope that helps in terms of that. Okay, where are we? There's a bunch more comments, so let's scroll back up. Okay, workshop, yes, okay. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so Evie, yes, so the program's called Get Stocked, and I will update my website, so maybe give me like give me a minute because I'm basically busy preparing this very exciting free training that is going to be happening very soon. So as soon as that's done, because I'm busy creating all of that, like training for you guys, as soon as that's done, then I'll work on the page for the Get Stocked so that you can actually like see what's in it and understand it, and then you can take a look at that. So have a look at that. So hang in there, but also send me an email, Evie, by all means, so that I don't like lose your contact, and as soon as it's done I can share the link with you, then you can take a look, and if you want we can hop on a call and I can explain in more details if you have any questions. I'd love to. I'm in 10 shops so far, but definitely looking to expand and go after bigger outlets. Amazing, Ria, that's great, well done. Fantastic, exactly. So that's the thing, it's like you can hone your system with those shops, and like I got to the stage where I would approach a shop and then they'll say like yes they're keen, and then I'll say like cool, I'm sending you XYZ, like all the things they need, and they were like, oh my god, you're so organized, this is amazing. And like literally the guy, like the shop owner, was saying to me, like Thomas, he was saying like, oh my goodness, like you are such a dream to work with, because there's other designers, their stuff's amazing, but my god, they're a pain, and like you make it so easy to want to continue working with you. So like even actually before I started my jewelry brand in, well, official launch 2015, I, back in South Africa, I had a clothing company which I ran for about 6 years, maybe 5 years, and I was approaching shops then, I was doing markets, I was doing all of this. When I was a little kid, I was doing markets. Literally, I'm an entrepreneur in my blood. So I was like 5 years old, making little mice out of pine cones and like gluing little leather tails and little eyes, like tiny little things. I love little tiny details. And selling those, making tie-dye t-shirts. I went through that phase, like all of these things. Like obviously what I ended up selling, the product got better and better and better over the years. But I know the industry, like I know how to sell things, like I know how to do all of this, but like I've said, like just like refining it, practice, going. So same for you, like with those 10 shops, fantastic. And then once you know you got your system like so freaking slick and smooth, go for the bigger ones, because they will want to see the proof that you've done it with the smaller ones and the other ones. So great, heading in the right direction, Ria. Woohoo, amazing. Congrats. Mark, hello. Hi, Megan. Do you have any advice on how to test your branding messaging? I'm currently struggling to differentiate between my messaging being off or that it is being shown to the wrong people. Okay, very good question, actually. Hold on a sec, let me take a sip of water. So how to test your branding. So stories is a fantastic place to test anything. So people love to be engaged and interact. So if you put a poll, you put a quiz, you put a this or a that, anything like that is really great. So that is one way, but at the same time it also depends on who is in your audience, like who are your followers on Instagram, because if you feel like they're not the right people, using that as a testing platform isn't going to be as beneficial as if you feel like, I think they're in there somewhere, but I need to just pull them out. Then I would say that's a great place to do it. Otherwise, in-person events is fantastic. So literally I'm thinking of another client, Heather, and when she signed up to work with me, she was like, Megan, I've done like 3 markets before, not sold anything, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, is it my jewelry? Is it my pricing? Is it my branding? Is it the messaging? Like, what is going on here? So we discovered that her target audience was very surface level still, like she hadn't dug enough into it, but obviously she was worried, like, am I going to lose out on customers by niching down too much? The answer is absolutely not. People outside of your like your target audience can absolutely still buy, but anyway, that's a whole other conversation. So in-person events is great because, like, for example, what Heather did after we discussed and clarified her target audience, she realized like she needed to bring bright colors into it, and so she like went like coral pinks, like oranges, like she really honed in on that and totally redid her display before her next market and made $600 in that event. She was like, oh my god, this is incredible, because literally she was like, am I cut out for this? Is this good enough? but her display before was so generic, and straight away I was like, no, you can do better than this. But she just didn't know where to begin. So in person is so good because you can try, like I used to make a lot of my displays, so inexpensively, so you don't need to spend like thousands or hundreds or whatever even on your display. Just try shifting the colors, shifting the feel, like try that in terms of in person. But maybe Mark, if you're still here, if you comment down below, like, do you think that your customers, so your people on Instagram, have some of your people in or not at all? Because that will make a difference there as well. Are you worried that silver and gold are getting more expensive? Any tips for pricing? Very good question. Okay, so first of all, this word expensive is so subjective, it's ridiculous. So if you're at a market, for example, and someone comes up to you and says, ooh, that ring's too expensive. What happens to most jewelers is they go, oh my God, you're so right. Oh my God, let me offer you a discount. And yes, you're so right. And let me give you a discount. Like, this is not at all the right way to go about it. So if you think about price, you think about what the customer sees as the value. So perceived value is what the customer thinks that ring should cost, no matter what you've put there. So this individual human person who randomly has come up to your stand, they might have only ever bought jewelry from H&M before. And they're going to look at your handmade thing, not have a clue about what's gone into it. And it's like, what? It's $85? Oh my God, that's so expensive. And be full of attitude and like, you're wrong. No. That person's perspective is not relative to that handmade item. Also, when somebody thinks they're getting a good deal, it's because they think that the price they're paying is good compared to what they're getting in return. So this is where, if you're ever worried about pricing, don't think about dropping your price, because trust me, 99% of jewelers are not overcharging, they're more likely undercharging. And you want to then make the customer feel like everything they're getting is of such high value. So this doesn't have to even cost you money. It can be things like beautiful packaging. It can just be like your amazing customer service. Like, you want the customer to think, wow, that's such a good deal. So that is where your display as well is like, oh yeah, ooh, this jewelry brand feels good. Like, I understand the value here. So slapping something together as a display and cheaping out on everything isn't going to give a person a high perceived value of your goods. So hope that makes sense. But in terms of your specific question, silver and gold getting more expensive, that's what my answer to that is. Focus on adding value rather than trying to be like for penny pinchers. Your brand doesn't need to be for penny pinchers. And I made this mistake actually for many years, where I priced low, way too low, until I started working with shops and they were like, you charging how much? This is way too cheap. So they were like, no, you need to work this price, you need to work this out so much better. So in terms of I lost my train of thought. Yeah, just make sure that the customer feels like they're getting a good deal rather than trying to do the cheapest thing possible. So whether the price goes up or down a little bit, you should be covered, basically. Okay, we've got a few more here, but then we will be wrapping up soon, guys. If you have any last burning questions, pop them in, but we will be wrapping up soon. I was in retail for years before starting my brand, so I'm great at in-person selling. Fantastic. That is a skill, such an important skill. Do you think it is possible to create that personal connection online without having to show up on camera? Haha, I see the shyness there, Ria. Yes, it definitely is. Obviously, showing your face does help. I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I posted my face in my jewelry account, it was like 5 times more engagement and 5 times more love than my jewelry. And I was always like, but guys, isn't my jewelry good too? So that personality, the conversation topics which should ideally be around the value and the vibe of the brand, try and think about how you can translate that to the messaging online. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I have obviously in all of my like paid programs like way more details. Specifically, yeah, magnetic jewelry brand, that one I like go into like, you will know your customer inside and out, literally, because as one of my clients said, she feels like she could literally write a book on it. So that is what we want. So if you know that much about them, it's so easy to write content, it's so easy to create reels, it's so easy to, you know, do carousels and stuff that they get. But it's about that vibe and that personality, if that makes sense. Try and transfer that across there. Mark says, amazing, thank you Megan, I definitely believe they are there. Believe I just need to fine tune the messaging that they realize it's for them, or try to understand the language they connect to. Yes, exactly. So it's kind of both of those. So try to understand the language they connect to, yes, and fine tune yours to them, yes, as long as you feel like you know who they are and you're like, okay, it's this segment of my audience, like it's this is very specific. So maybe Mark, if you pop in the chat what you think your target audience is, and I can see if that's like clear enough for you to have enough info to go on in terms of the messaging, because this is where so many people think, oh, I've got my target audience, and it's literally something like women aged 30 to 50 with extra money for handmade jewelry. And I wish it was that simple, but it's really not. Like, there's a lot of competition now, and you have to be you. Like, you have to have a different perspective. You have to have something stronger. And this is where people often think that just the jewelry needs to be different. But there are 12 different categories of USP, which I go into in Magnetic Jewelry Brand, and I literally break down. I'm like, okay, how do you find what's specifically different for your brand? So it is a combination of leaning into them, but also not being swayed all the time. Oh, is it them? Oh no. Is it them? Oh no. So like you having that like, okay, I've created this, I'm the curator, and I'm picking, and then you hone everything in there and amplify it and put it out there. So I hope that makes sense. You're so welcome, Ria. You're so very, very welcome. Thank you. Oh, amazing. Thank you for doing this. You are so welcome. It was really fun, actually. I might do more of these. And what I might do in the future is actually like do live on Instagram and YouTube at the same time. Now that I've done the technical setup, thanks to Tech Fiance Emil. Thank you very much for helping with that. But yeah, did you guys like this format? I think it could be interesting to do more of these. But I hope you all found it helpful. And even here, you see, guys, I'll stop for a second. I see 17 people watching, but you see there's a few people who are talking. So don't beat yourself up when you have lower engagement on your socials and you're like, nobody's getting it, it's not resonating. So that's also for you to be the driver to invite people to engage. It's all in my Instagold course. But in terms of what next I have for you guys, I have a much longer form, well, actually about the same as this, but much more structured training for you guys, which I basically am going to explain the customer journey to you guys, and I explain the 3 big mistakes that are blocking jewelry sales. So you can identify, ooh, am I in 1, am I more in 2, am I more in 3, to see where you are at in terms of like that full flow. Because the way I see jewelry businesses, it's like, it's all these moving parts. And once everything like clicks into place, then it's like a well-oiled machine. And that's like, it just goes. Literally, I get sales in my sleep still in my jewelry business. So I hope this was helpful, and keep your eyes on social media for when that live training is coming up. And thank you so much for chatting and for joining me. And good luck to all of you guys. You're doing amazing. Like really some great progress here. And see you guys soon. Bye.